أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, "O people, revere Allah, for man was not created in vain, that he may amuse himself, nor has he been abandoned to futility, that he may be vain." قال الإمام علي عليه السلام: أيها الناس اتقوا الله فما خلق امرؤ عبث أيها الناس اتقوا الله فما خلق امرؤ عبثا فيلهو ولا ترك سدى فيلغو. أعيده بلي. إمام علي عليه السلام قال: أيها الناس اتقوا الله فما خلق امرؤ عبثا فيلهو ولا ترك سدى فيلغو. With a treatise on the rights for Imam Zayn al-Abidin Salamullahi alayh, you will see in this book 50 rights. He said, "In the name of Allah, most beneficent, most merciful, know, God have mercy upon you, that God has rights incumbent upon you, and that these encompass you in every motion through which you move, every rest which you take, every station in which you reside, every limb which you employ, and every instrument which you use. Some of these rights are greater than others, and the greatest of God's rights incumbent upon you." So the greatest rights are the rights of Allah upon yourself. Upon you is what He has made incumbent upon you for Himself. The blessed and the exalted from His rights, that which is the root of all rights, from which others branch out, than those which He has made incumbent upon you in yourself, from your crown to your foot. According to the diversity of your organs, He established for your sight a right incumbent upon you, and your hearing a right incumbent upon you, and your tongue a right incumbent upon you, and your hand a right incumbent upon you, and your legs a right incumbent upon you, and your stomach a right incumbent upon you, and your private part a right incumbent upon you. These are the 7 organs through which deeds take place. Then the mighty and the high established for your deeds rights incumbent upon you. Then He established for your ritual prayer a right incumbent upon you, and your fasting a right incumbent upon you, and your charity a right incumbent upon you, and your offering a right incumbent upon you, and your deeds a right incumbent upon you. Then the rights extend out from you to others who have rights incumbent upon you, and the most incumbent of them incumbent upon you are the rights toward your leaders. Then the leaders, it means your father, your mother, your teacher, then the rights toward your subjects, and then the rights toward your relations of kin, like your brother, your sister, and so on. And from these rights branch out other rights. The rights of your leaders are threefold. The one most incumbent upon you is the right of him who trains you through authority, like your teacher. Then the right of him who trains you through knowledge. Then the right of him who trains you through property. And each trainer is a leader, and the shifts of your subjects, and the rights of your subjects are threefold. The one most incumbent upon you is the right of those who are your subjects through authority, then the right of those who your subjects through knowledge, for the man of ignorance is the subject of the man of knowledge, and then the right of those who are your subjects through property, such as wives and those owned by the right hand, and the rights of your relation of kin are multifold. Then hold according to the degree of closeness of the relationship. Then the most incumbent one upon you is the right of your mother, then the right of your father, then the right of your child, then the right of your brother, then the next nearest, and then the next nearest, and the most worthy, and then the next most worthy. Then there is the right of your master who favors you, then the right of the slave, the servant whose favor reach you, then the right of him who treats you kindly, then the right of your caller to prayer, the mu'adhin, then the right of your prayer leader, the imam jama'ah, then the right of your sitting companion, your friend, for example, your colleague, then the right of your neighbor, then the right of your companion, then the right of your partner, then the right of your property, then the right of the debtor who must pay you back, then the right of your creditor who demands his debt to be paid back, then the right of your associate, then the right of your adversary who has a claim against you, then the right of your adversary against whom you have claim, then the right of him who seeks you advice, then the right of him whose advice you seek, then the right of him who seeks your counsel. That means once you ask for advice from somebody, second, you give advice to somebody. So both of them, they have what? They have right upon you. Whose counsel you seek, then the right of him who is older than you are, then the right of him who is younger than you are, then the right of him who begs from you, then the right of him from whom you beg, then the right of him who wrongs you either verbally or physically, then the right of him who does something to make you happy either verbally or physically, whether intentionally or unintentionally, then the right of the people of your creed, then the right of those under the protection of Islam, then all rights hold which are incumbent upon you according to the vicissitudes of life and the availability of means. Therefore, blessed be the one whom God helps fulfill the rights which he has made incumbent upon him, and whom he grants success therein and guides. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the book. In this beginning, he gave us introduction and summary about all the rights that we are going to discuss through this book. So, the first right is the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the greatest right upon you. What is the greatest right upon you? The greatest right upon you is that you worship Allah sincerely and not to associate somebody else with Him. If you do this, what does that mean? That means if you worship Allah sincerely and not associating anybody with Him in worship, Allah will make incumbent upon Himself, will take care of you in this life and hereafter. Look, Allah said the greatest right of God, then the greatest right, Imam Zain al-Abidin said, the greatest right of God incumbent upon you is that you worship Him without associating anything with Him. What does that mean? That means, for example, if I am sick, first of all, I have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me out to be cured. Okay? Not only this, but I have to go to the doctor. So, first of all, I ask Allah. Second, I make a reason, I go to the doctor. If I am in a critical situation, first I have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and definitely وَقَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ نَجْوَاكُمْ, I have to make one of the Immaculates, the 14th Immaculates, one of them or all of them, in between me and Allah. Then I go make what? A reason to make it done. Alright? But if I don't do that, it is, I'm sorry to say that, but it is the case of all people. Nowadays, when you tell him, Ud'u Allah, he said, Ay wallah, ana ad'i. But when you ask him to supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, yes, I said my supplications. But in fact, he didn't do that. And if he does it just like that without any intention. This is a worship act. It needs an intention. And this intention, it should be from your heart, that you ask Allah, nobody else. And you are thinking that, and you are 100% sure that Allah is the one who is going to do this for you, nobody else. And then look for the other reasons. دائما نقول للناس يا بادعوا الله. اي والله شيخنا اني دعيت الله، بس بالحقيقة هو ما داعي الله. وإذا داعي الله شفيان شرم ولا عليه يابا عمل عبادي يراد له نية intention. لا، مو يمه أصلا، مو يم الموضوع. يتكلم بفلان وعلان، هاي المام الزوجة تركض بالسادة وتركض بذاك وتركض بهذا، وتعالوا فكوا لي علق ومن شنو وفحلوا الشبسة مالتي. شنو هاللغوة هذه؟ شنو هاللغوة هذه؟ يعني هو هذا السبب؟ توجه إلى الله، إلى أهل البيت، طرح الأسباب. تقول شيخنا شنو أطرح الأسباب؟ عندكم مجالس الحسين، روح حضري مجالس الحسين. هم يشوفنك النسوان مؤدبة محترمة محتشمة، تحضري مجالس الحسين، يرغبا بيش، ياخذنك زوجا أو ابنائهم. واحد من الأسباب يعني ماكو عندنا والله ماكو. تلبس بنطلون وتحط مدري شنو وحط والله شنو ينعجب. من ينعجب بيك بابا أنت؟ مثل الشكلية المفتوحة ومذبوبة بقاع وعليها كل ذبان. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.